Hey guys, Chris Figgins here in the Figgins Estate Vineyard in the beautiful east side of the Walla Walla Valley. I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainability today and what we do in the vineyard to work with nature instead of against her. One of the things I did from the very concept of this vineyard, the very beginning, was plan to have biodiversity as part of the vineyard. And so in every single block, there's a row like this that is excluded from grapes, that is solely devoted to biodiversity. So in this case, we've got a ton of wildflowers and native species that we plant in these rows. And these in particular wild roses just host an enormous amount of beneficial insects. So the whole idea is to create balance within the vineyard. Instead of having a monoculture of only grapevines with bare soils, we do things differently. I have complete cover crop in the vineyard, and then these biodiversity plantings help balance the predatory insects with the insects that do damage to the grapevines. Well, these biodiversity plantings host a lot of beneficial insects that attack those. So the whole idea is to level out the peaks and valleys of the stock market of insects, if you will, to create harmony in the vineyard and to flatten the curve. A much overused term, but one that's appropriate here. So in doing so, it dramatically decreases or eliminates our need for insecticides in some cases, and creates better overall balance in the vineyard. So we like to have cover crops. It keeps the temperature of the soils cooler. It adds a little competition to the grapevines since we're a more vigorous site here. It gets the vines shut down earlier. Also, all of these soils got here by wind. These are wind deposited loess-based soils. And without a cover crop, when those soils dry out, Walla Walla silt loam is almost like an aerosol when it's dry, and it wants to travel with the wind. That's how it got here in the first place. So having these cover crops keeps it in place where we need it in the vineyard. So we're already on the edge of where natural biodiversity is starting. We're at the edge of the forest interface, and we've got Mill Creek down in the bottom, which is provides a lot of habitat and a lot of natural biodiversity. But we wanted to bring it into the vineyard itself, and you just see these. They're just absolutely teeming with life. It brings in honeybees, which they're not necessary for pollination of grapes, but they certainly help. So hopefully all of this helps you feel better about drinking my wines. It's, there's a lot of wines out there and a lot that aren't farmed sustainably. We definitely do so, from compost teas to biodiversity in the vineyard to cover crops and everything in between, all the farming decisions that we make. So speaking of wine, we still have some of the spring release available of both the Ophelia and the Riesling. If you're one of those guys that is like, I'm not a Riesling fan, trust me, this is a vintage you want to try. The 19s are absolutely outstanding. So why Riesling, you might ask? Well, besides the history that we have with Leonetti, so the first wines my parents ever released were actually Riesling, believe it or not. So back in the day, I think they did it from 78 until 82, I think. But so here at Figgins, the block behind me is Merlot, and it faces, to the west and the southwest. But then if you pivot around behind me, the topography sort of changes here. And this Riesling is more towards the northwest. And so it's substantially cooler than the rest of the vineyard. And it also sits in this draw with the wheat field behind me, funneling cool air towards it, especially at night. So because I love Riesling and I didn't feel confident planting Bordeaux varieties at this part of the vineyard, went with Riesling, and it's been a big hit. It looks really good this year too, by the way. All right, cheers. Hope you guys pick some up, and we'll talk soon. Hope you're healthy and happy and high spirits. Adios.